Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the second or third final Indiana Jones movie. Apparently it's a flop, critics say it's terrible, and a whole lot worse. So what exactly went oh so wrong? Feel free to like and subscribe, and let's find out. Outside of a young Harrison Ford and the 1930s as a character,
obviously the Nazis are looking for the headpiece.
I'd say the overall transcendent nature of the original movies as an action film was also missing.
Let him go.
You essentially had the American James Bond, the thinking man's action star, with all the little cinematic nuances referenced to the time period that Spielberg threw in there, and thus naturally all the little extras made the movie unforgettable and, like I said, had a transcendent nature.
We have top men working on it right now.
Bureaucratic
What'd they say?
First of all, in terms of transcendent movies, let me just give you some personal subjective examples, yeah? You had Mr. Bronson out of Grange Hill as Hitler.
You girls! The rules are what you should stick to, boy.
Not to mention it'd been in The Empire Strikes Back.
The rebels are there.
My lord.
I saw The Last Crusade at the cinema in '89. I'm like, oh my god, that's Mr. Bronson from Grange Hill playing Hitler in this movie. So already you were like, that's that guy from this thing and that thing in this current movie I'm watching, doing a good job. This is not just another action film with a guy punching Nazis. You've got Balak, the French indulgent dude. There was the Gestapo dude.
We meet again, Fräulein.
For a time, I literally thought he was the same Gestapo dude from LOLO.
Why is this mutton dressed as lamb?
Americans, you're all the same.
Ah, Gestapo.
Wasn't just generic Nazis, there were unique characters that you'd see pop up other places, or you would think it's the same character. That aspect, of course, in the Dial of Destiny was missing.
It's my last Indiana Jones movie.
I stole it. It's called capitalism.
The big one that everyone knows, Shortround, yeah?
Shortround.
Okay, you asked for it!
I actually thought that's the same Chinese kid from Temple of Doom, now he's in Goonies.
Well, let me tell you what.
Oh, he must have gone to America. The additional memorable bits, making it transcendent at a time when movies were everything.
I was 35, 40 years old, at really the height of Hollywood's influence over the culture, and vice versa.
Movies suck now, along with other reasons, because the medium of film is no longer as widespreading as it once was. This kind of cinematic pop cultural connective tissue that existed in the 80s and 90s doesn't anymore. So expecting younger millennial and zoomer audiences to say, hey guys, there's this 80-year-old man who 30, 40 years ago, he was the action star and the Brad Pitt stud of his day.
Why don't I ever dream of Harrison Ford?
Come to a movie right now when you'd rather be on your phone and watch him at 80 years old, not 40 years ago, jump over buildings, yeah. Not gonna happen. The imploding Hollywood studio machine keeps trying to residually latch onto formulas that worked at a time when the medium of film was far broader to multi-generations than it is now with these Zoomers and their smartphone technology. On top of that, you have film critics, which essentially seem to be anti-woke bashers, telling you the film was anti-male feminist propaganda, when ultimately it was just not bad as opposed to amazing. Hollywood, for the most part, ran out of ideas a decade ago. Like I said, technology keeps changing.
The DVD was a huge part of our business. Technology has just made that obsolete.
Mid-budget movies aren't perceived as economically viable, so every movie has to be this big Marvel-esque CGI super hit. Not only did Disney pay billions to purchase Star Wars, it was Lucasfilm overall. They just assume, they just get any Lucasfilm product, Star Wars, Willow, Indiana Jones, and they're onto an open layup no matter what. In terms of the previous film, Crystal Skull, I think they got Shia LaBeouf 15 years ago purely on the fact of he's the River Phoenix replacement. He played the young Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade. The young Indiana Jones Chronicles, they got the working man's River Phoenix. River Phoenix didn't want to do it. Then he passed away prematurely, of course, so I feel Shia LaBeouf at the time was Hollywood still being stuck in the early 90s. That didn't work. Come Dial of Destiny, They finally say, let's give up on trying to get a River Phoenix replacement and find someone new. But just because you've given up on the wrong idea doesn't mean anything that isn't that particular idea is the right idea.
Is the most fun you can have at the movie.
I think James Mangold loves the loser trope that he's had in certain movies.
Heavy is almost a similar film. A character who very much is at least pushing 50 at that point and kind of finding he hasn't lived his life yet. And the next movie about a kind of sheriff in middle-age Copland.
Aging boomers in the 90s coming to the realization they squandered all their opportunities.
I offered you a chance to be a cop and you blew it!
It's very real and entertaining, but it's so many miles away from Indiana Jones. We all want to be like that. It's a vicarious, escapist fantasy. I don't know if philosophically and fundamentally James Mangold, who I'm not going to slander by the way, was the right guy for...
You blew it!
Here's my thing with Kathleen Kennedy. I'm not going to get into a big character assassination rant. I will say her track record speaks for itself.
Development is a complicated, long-term.
The Star Wars movies, even the second two, still generated a profit. So, corporate-wise, maybe she's not seen as useless. A corporate woman who's climbed the ladder since the 80s, being a producer and assistant producer in movies that were criticised for having loads of Orientalism. And yet now that she's head of Lucasfilm, she's constantly being accused of being this big propagator of woke discourse. Not particularly, it was just poorly executed. I think they just got a female character that was thrown in at the last minute, presumably because she's not a River Phoenix replacement and she's a British female like Daisy Ridley in the Star Wars sequels. The only thing that was overtly woke was having a black woman call a white man a cracker when she could have easily just called him a redneck. As a white member of the audience, naturally I found that a bit offensive.
I stole it. It's called capitalism.
It wasn't that super woke kind of caricature character. She just was a poorly written sidekick to Indiana Jones who was unlikable, morally ambiguous, with a sidekick who was the worst example of a Moroccan version of Shortround.
Hey, Dr. Jones!
If you're gonna do fan service and bring everybody back, including a certain gentleman.
Look at this.
In light of the fact that the actor who played Shortround, who I just knew as the Chinese kid growing up,
Okie dokie, Dr. Jones.
just won an Oscar this year.
I just won an Oscar!
Wow, holy smoke!
But he wasn't even brought back to the movie. That's the double insult. But here's what they did do. Once he won the Oscar, they started taking the actor and including him in the promotion.
Nobody can play Indiana Jones but him.
Giving you the false hope that Shortround might be in this. As a kid, he was the relatable one in Temple of Doom. When he covers his eyes, this and that when they're kissing. Hababi there! Hababi there!
I'm happy now! I'm happy now!
How are you not going to bring back Hababi there?
I'm happy now!
Want to talk about woke? You brought back the Sala guy.
Give him hell, Indiana Jones!
This is what I did hear that was woke. A woman on the BBC saying, why are they bringing back a white actor playing an Egyptian and not an Egyptian? Because they casted it 40 years ago. There wasn't, outside of Omar Sharif, there was not an abundance of Egyptian actors. Whereas Shortround was a Chinese playing a Chinese, not a Welshman playing an Egyptian. Temple of Doom is sick.
Let her go, Molaram! You are in a position unsuitable to give orders.
Big component is the Chinese kid Shortround.
Hey lady, you call him Dr. Jones.
You didn't bring him back, yeah? But you're so progressive.
I'm happy now.
I didn't expect this film to be particularly good. I'd heard some of the early reviews from Cannes where they were slamming it, but I was like, I don't care. I want to see one of my favourite old school actors in one of his best roles. I don't give a damn, I'm going to see it. It was about what I expected. It was okay, it was not bad, it was entertaining. I still preferred it to The Crystal Skull. The problem is it comes at a time when a 2010's established formula of blockbuster movie making is becoming more and more rejected and unappealing to layman audiences, not to mention YouTube anti-woke film critics.
How did you end up like this?
Women, resourceful, daring, beautiful, self-sufficient!
Yet the stagnant Hollywood studio machine, which is all business and next to no art, seems to be 10 steps behind what audiences actually want, with its X's and O's approach to an over-budgeted franchise flop.
Bureaucratic
What'd they say?
That's my little take on what went wrong. If you have a better take, feel free to let me know in the comments section. Having said that, if you made it to the end, Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.
Bureaucratic
What'd they say? I'm happy now.